Let me share a screen with you. We will finish chapter 4. Oh, before we finish the chapter 4, let's watch a short video, probably. This video talks about opportunities and
the land of opportunity. If you want to make something of yourself in this country, there's little stopping you. But in many other parts of the world, the will and desire to succeed is abundant, but the opportunity to do so isn't. In some of the poorest nations, a mere $50 is enough for an individual to start a business and become successful enough to pull themselves out of poverty. For over 25 years, Opportunity International has provided impoverished people with microloans to start small businesses. Today, the organization helps more than 1 million people in over 28 countries by giving them what we take for granted every day, the opportunity to change their lives.
Opportunity International is the hub for the hopeless.
Opportunity International is in the business of transforming lives, and we use microfinance as the methodology.
Opportunity's mission is to provide access to the working poor to capital to help grow their businesses and to help them work their way out of poverty. And that's an incredibly huge goal.
You may ask yourself, why are some countries rich while others are poor? Economics may hold the answer. Economics is the study of how a country uses its resources to produce goods and services and how they're distributed among various groups and individuals.
Poverty is a very complex issue, and there's a number of great books written on the concept, but most of the time they will tell you it's very multidimensional.
Try and eradicate poverty. You need so many tools. Microfinance is one big tool that you can use, but you need hospitals, you need schools. So if we could even groom our clients to be able to do some of these things, you know, can you imagine? That could help. But I mean, poverty is a big thing, and everybody needs to be involved.
In 1776, Adam Smith wrote a book called The Wealth of Nations. He believed that providing the freedom for individuals to own land and keep profits from a business they own were essential to the success of a nation. Not only would people work harder if they had incentives to do so, but the economy would prosper, since these people would create an abundance of resources for all. He called this the invisible hand, or the process that turns self-directed gain into benefits for all.
For example, a client I met with in Uganda started by having a daycare. She expanded that daycare into being a school, and now she also has a catering business, and she's able to use the school compound as a place to host events on a Saturday. So what she's doing, much like any other good business person, is making the most of her assets to be able to get a larger return, and in turn she's employing more people and serving her community.
You may have heard the phrase, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Let's take that a step further. Teach a person to start a fish farm and they will be able to feed a village for a lifetime. That's the secret to economic development that Opportunity International fosters around the world.
Pamela was looking for a business that she could, do. She decided she didn't want to be just selling yam or selling bananas like the other women. She decided to go into the mushroom, business. She learned how to produce mushrooms, so we went to visit, her small mushroom production thing by, her house. She provides employment to 3 other people. But again, that alone would be significant because she is feeding her family, she is sending her husband to school, okay, and she is providing employment to 3 people. Impressive story, but even more impressive to me again was Pamela told us she had trained over 100 other Ghanaians in the mushroom production skills, and they had their own small shacks where they were producing mushrooms.
What we're talking about here is free market capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system where the factors of production and distribution are privately owned and operated for profit. Capitalism has led to much of the world's wealth creation and is the foundation of the U.S. economic system. Free market capitalism only works when people have four basic rights: the right to own property, the right to own a business and keep its profits, the freedom to compete with any other business, and the freedom to work wherever you want.
Now, obviously, having all of such rights would be very, very helpful, for the people that we're trying to serve, to the extent that you don't have a government coming to interfere or to prevent, an individual from achieving the maximum of his or her God-given potential. That obviously is great. Unfortunately, not all of the countries will allow people to enjoy all of those rights.
We have recently started working with some folks and the government to work on some land title issues to help accelerate that. Because in the end, you do need to also have the opportunity to buy and own your land, or the equity you've built up, the business you've built up, whether it's a farm or whether it's the restaurant, can all of a sudden disappear on a whim.
So how do free markets work? Basically, the decisions about what to produce, how much to produce, and at what price are determined by buyers and sellers negotiating for goods and services, or in other words, the forces of supply and demand. Supply is how much product a manufacturer is willing to sell at different prices. Demand is how much buyers are willing to purchase at different prices. Where the supply and demand curves cross on the graph is the equilibrium point, also known as the market price, or the price determined by supply and demand.
Opportunity International is really effective at helping to grow a free market economy. You are in a situation where you have interested, eager, talented business people that are looking to find a way to grow their business. We are providing access to loans so that they then can grow that business, and then those businesses in turn hopefully grow, and that community over time becomes more self-sufficient and sustainable.
In countries that don't have free markets, businesses have no way of knowing what to produce and in what amounts. The government decides, but is often wrong, which leads to large shortages or surpluses. Another type of economic system is socialism, which is based on the premise that most basic businesses should be owned by the government so that profits can be distributed among the people. Socialist economies may have more social equality, free education, and health care, but they also have much higher taxes, which means much of the incentive to work harder is taken away. Brain drain often results as many of the country's best and brightest people leave to other countries where their talents earn them more money.
In that 2 to 8 week period where we train them, it is very important because that is when we offer them training in financial management, business skills, let them understand the importance of saving.
From there, they'll then qualify for their loan, they'll understand what the loan requirements are, and they will continue to meet for each week of their loan cycle, continuing to get business and personal training so that they can be better business owners. That training then trans into these women and these men being more effective business leaders, and then passing that training on to their own staff and to their own family members.
Communism, on the other hand, is a system where the government makes almost
Okay. There is some propaganda in it, but it looks fine. We believe that the Canadian system is more socialist than open market because there is more taxes. But in this case, they provide more resources to the people to do better. And you see now, if you can compare to see like USA versus Canada, Canada is more better to live in it. It's true you pay more taxes, but you get more services and better services. That's definitely, we can see it here. Recently, Canadians also became more competitive market than USA, although they have an open market and we have a socialist system, semi-socialist system, but we became more competitive. The fact that the conclusion that the fact that if the government taxes us more, we work less, that's not true. Most of us work hard to see the contributions more to us, and we are utilizing, the all advantages that the system is providing for us. And there was issues that if I'm going to work, I should not be worried about my health. In the future, I should not be worried about my children education. And then I can produce much better. Because if I'm worried about my health, I'm worried about my education, then I need to make enough money. And I'm not making enough money, then I need to step on other people. And that's caused social injustice within the society. So a combination of open market and social support, it's something very important for the whole community. And if you notice, the most prospective countries like Canada, like Switzerland, like Finland, Ireland, they all have some kind of a social system because they are supporting others also. Now, so it is important that you look at it in that way, because there was some propaganda in this movie because it's made for the Americans, making them feel better about themselves. And it is not, it is, USA is good for young guys, but once he's reaching over 40 or you have children, then it's not a good place to live in, because you would be, if anybody gets sick, you will pay so much money just to cure that person. So what we'll do, we'll try to finish chapter 4. So after the break, we come back and talk about rest of chapter 5, hopefully. Let me know if you have any question.
Sir, what we will get in the midterm, MCQs or question and answer like we get in quiz?
Okay. For your coming test is going to be very similar of the quiz that I gave to you. There would be nothing different than, the only reason I gave you that test is to make sure that you you have it's going to be like a 12 question, answer any 10. Okay, just the quiz that you had, 5 question, answer any 4. So it's going to be a writing test, and the quiz that I gave you is that would be, your test would be very similar to it. Okay. Now, the product planning and development process. I need to see when you unmute yourself, please and you have a question, ask. But after you finish, mute yourself again because you're everybody can hear your background noises and it's causing distraction. Uh, the idea are refined through the production planning and development process and is divided into 5 major things. So this process result in the start of the product life cycle. We spoke about that last class. Now we're talking the evaluation criteria that must be inclusive and quantitative. A market opportunity and adequate market demand must exist. So before you start your business, there should be a market demand for it and market adequacies like supply chain, uh, transportation, communication should be there. Um, the second thing you do is you evaluate the current competing produce or service. You evaluate the prices, the policies for the impact on the market. So if you're producing something that costs $10 and somebody is producing cost $2, eventually you need to look at a different way to position your product. Otherwise, you will not compete and you will lose. And if you go now, most of the daily consuming products is made in China or, for example, made in India or Sri Lanka. And these are because it's cheaper to produce these things there than in USA. On the other hand, if you look at the high-end product like a IT service, the Indian manpower is very much matching now as a price-wise with the American and European. So products makes a big difference as a prices-wise. A new product should have a synergy with the existing capabilities. So if you're producing a product that is 100 units and your market takes only 20 units, so you might lose in that because of the you have to produce 100 units because less than 100 units might your basic cost goes up. New products should also support and contribute to the financial well-being. So you don't produce product for the sake of producing it. It's just because you have to start delivering a service or a product to making it more profitable for you and for the community. Evaluate compatibility with existing machineries and personnel, and evaluate the idea throughout its evolution. So you have to know whether your product has been supportive, met the marketing criteria. For example, if you are trying to produce something that is less advanced, then there might be people less interested in that. Now, stage 1, the idea stage, which is identify you look at the products or the service and you think this is a promising, this is what I'm gonna produce or provide for the communities. You just collect this information, you find out which one is more productive. The second thing is redefine the idea and test it to determine the customer, right? There's so many things that we think it's a customer will take it, will buy it, but then when you put it in a market, you would see that the customer is not buying it, or they might buy it in the beginning and then you end up not doing well in it. And then you do a product development. So the consumer reaction to the physical product is determined after that. And then accordingly, you do a product development for it. and then you take the do that test the marketing stages and see the actual is there is a sales and whether there's sustainable the sales. If lots of, if you notice, lots of restaurants they open and few months later they close, and the reason is the fact that they cannot sustain their sales. But in the beginning everybody's curious and going to try the food, and the restaurant owner are very happy, but then he sees the sales declines and he doesn't know why. And because he doesn't see that he did not test the market. A friend of mine, he opened a local restaurant, and he spent almost $500,000 because he was targeting the high-end people. He spent over 6 months just doing the internal thing. He had a good sales in the beginning, wonderful startup. I was there, but I told him one thing. I said, you need to be careful what's going to happen after a month. He said, no, the business is doing fine and all these things. Recently, he closed that, and because there is not enough sales. So once you provide an actual sales result, you also need to see how you're going to sustain it through commercialization. How are you going to do that? Now, e-commerce, that's one of the way of doing it today is through the e-commerce. And the e-commerce and business startup, most of us, the first thing is going to think about it today is to do it through e-commerce. Maybe this today, if we had time, I will speak about and explain to you how the e-commerce works, just like how Amazon works, maybe end of the class, or we will leave it to the next class to talk about more details on the e-commerce channels and your situation when you want to promote your product or you want to sell your product, which part of the e-commerce can be useful for you and where you're supposed to stop while you're doing your work. So basically, after the break, what we do, hopefully we can manage to talk about, I'm not sure if anybody heard of Tijari.com. Tijari.com is a company established in Dubai, and in the year 2000. It's a very similar to Amazon, and Amazon is recently developed. This company it was done through the government of Dubai to move to e-government, and we'll talk. They are very, as I said, very similar to Amazon or Shopify. It's an e-commerce. It has a B2B. It has a B2C, and have all details that we are looking for. Now, while we are talking about this, how it works, then you need to conceptualize which part of, for example, Amazon you will be using and which part that you don't want to use it. And according to that, you can establish your venture of entrepreneurship. Today, the sky is the limit to do that. But you have to know how far, on which side of the sky you want to move on. So basically, we'll take a break for, say, 10 minutes, and we will come back at, say, 4:40. We'll start the class at 4:40. I'm here. Just let me know if you have any question. Okay, we're back. And let's continue with the class. So here's where we left off. Now, we just wanted to give you an example of how Amazon and Shopify or other products is working. And by understanding how it works, what do they have, then you can make a decision which part of the tool, the Shopify, the Amazon, or you want to have your own website, you make a decision accordingly. So, but we will leave that probably. We're just going to talk about a similar product, which is called Tijari.com. Tijari.com started at the year 2000. And basically, it talks about, wonderful. It talks about, B2B and B2C. Now, maybe most of us didn't hear about Tijari because after a while, they decided not to go public with it, and they wanted to use it only in UAE to be moving very quickly and become very competitive. Now, recent announcement, put it this way, they choose Switzerland, there's a university in Switzerland, choose the most competitive market in the world. And Canada was number 8, and UAE, Dubai was number 10. USA, I think, was number 13 this year. So there is two things that made Dubai that competitive is the fact that they have something called, they built so many ports, which is Jebel Ali is one of the ports, big port worldwide. There's so much products, import and export to India, to Iran, and they do their reshaping, repackaging everything and ship it to Africa or back to, so it's a hub for worldwide to come their products there and get repackaged or assembled or produced there and gets reshipped again. The major trades that's happening between India, UAE, and Persian Gulf countries. And they're utilizing Dubai as a hub. Imagine that because they don't have a big population in each country, but they are wealthy, so a big ship of sugar, when it comes in, it cannot go straight to Kuwait or go straight to Qatar. So they have to land all their ship of sugar in Dubai, and then they make it in a small packages, smaller ships, and ship it to other country, and they do make the money. That's one pillar, made UAE a hub of the world. The second one is the Tijari.com. Keep in mind, they started in 2000, and they said all the purchase of government will be on Tijari.com. So anything that the government wants should be announcing it on Tijari.com, and anybody who's supplying will supply using Tijari.com. That's how they started it, to make an e-government. And then they moved from e-government to B2B, and then they went to B2C. So the vision is to enable company to realize that the dramatic cost saving everybody is going on Amazon, Shopify, because they want to do a cost saving and having a greater efficiencies and do extend to a whole world of consumers. Imagine how much things that you purchase directly from China right now through Alibaba or Amazon. So your product could be online and access to the rest of the world. You might have this one. So the companies and the organization could be to automate their procurement and buy and sell online. Okay, so they produce online requisition, so requests you can make online, and you can do approval workflow because somebody wants to buy. If it's a B2C, maybe a C person to buy, but if you government buying from you, there is a workflow approval, and they ordering and receiving. So any tool like Amazon or Shopify or Tijari will have an online requisition, approval workflow, ordering and receiving. And also they added the tender, the request for a quotation, and request for information, RFI. And they added all the documentations and this attachment, auto comparison. You can compare different products, and you can do a supplier management, supply chain management, warehousing. You can utilize their warehousing, or you can have your own warehousing, and you can have online discussions and merging messaging. So all this cycle of sales, it's happening there. Now it's depend on you. When you start an entrepreneurship, you might have do some part of that and have the Amazon or Shopify do the other parts of it. It depends how you feel about it. Or you might say, no, I will produce and I will have the warehouse. I will do the shipping, all these things. Or you say, no, actually, I'm not going to produce. I'm going to bring somebody products and sell it here. So you are in the middleman, which is you're connected to their warehouse and you have a place to promote that. And all these systems are integrated with each other. Now, if we don't know how the breakdown of Amazon or breakdown of Shopify or breakdown of Tijari, then we don't know which part we can do and which part we can outsource it to them. You will also can have an e-catalog, which is we do that. You can once you do your shopping, you always run to e-catalog to select the products. So the advantage is there is a low startup cost. It's not going to cost you that much to be on Amazon. You probably, I think it's $100 to set up the cost. There is no investment in the hardware, in the computer, in network, in server. You don't need to purchase softwares. The implementation, there's no implementation charges. And you can have an access or remote accessibilities from everywhere. And you're not going to lose your data. You don't have a problem of upgrading your data. And you have a local presence constantly there. So these are the advantage that you're going to get from Amazon, and you're going to get from online B2B or B2C. You will be reducing the procurement cycle period. saving time and money. So when you are doing shopping, buying things, you notice that if somebody purchases on Amazon, it's so easy to and so quickly to buy things. So the cycle of selling is very quickly. There is automation and centralization of internal requests. So you can make a request. If you are a consumer, then you will find lots of bidders to your, so you will find somebody provide you a product that according to your need, demand, and cost. And it's full transparent, and you can get the information always there. So it's like an improvement of management. So you might utilize their CRM. You can use their uh, chatting, emails, all these, they have these tools. And instead of you implement each one of them, you just utilize them. And once you become financially strong, you might later on to make your own. You will be reaching to a big market. So when you put things on Amazon, you're targeting the whole USA and Canada, for example, at least. And a very quick market, lots of opportunities, and there is intelligent reporting, how many things bought at this time, when I lowered the price, how many things I was selling, higher the price. These all the reports are built in. So if you don't have your own intelligent tools, you can utilize these. And also there is a streamlining efficiencies in a process. So you're not gonna go through too many repetitive work, how shall I say, too many routines to do that. They have built it using Oracle and Microsoft. Front end was a Microsoft and back end was Oracle. I assume it's the same thing Amazon is doing, plus adding other products like Salesforce and other tools also. So what they manage the from this saving up to 20% cost of a good and service, because everybody's competing, supplying their product. They manage to save time and become efficient in cost. Up to costs can be reduced up to 40 to 50%, because now the if I'm in Dubai, for example, want to buy a service, I have people from China, from India, from Iran, from Dubai, they beating on the price, and they don't have to move into the country and pay some, rent and license and all these things. So they can compete internationally. So the cost on the supplier is pretty much been lowered. So that's happened, had a benefit for the buyer. So if you have a product or a service that is a special, or you think the price is very competitive, is a very good idea to have it on Amazon to be exposed worldwide. The service was improved and visibility of the speed. When I'm buying something, I want to see how long it takes to come to me. Where is it? That's all these information, small information, I can see them. So that's a very good transparencies and visibilities there. I can see that things I was moving very quickly. But the process is how this happens is, usually it starts from a senior manager or a manager or a person if it's B2C. And what he does, the first thing he's going to do, he's going to start looking. And instead of looking at all the website everywhere, he just goes to the Tijara and goes looking, because there is an e-catalog, and or if he cannot find it, he can publish a request. So the technology guys will be, searching and then the purchasing people, which is the order comes from the shopping to the purchasing. Purchasing will be looking at what's the lowest price, what's the delivery time, what's the delivery conditions. And then it goes to the management approval. And once the management approval did approve it, then the accounting will pay for it and the things get delivered. So it is very smooth and very quickly it's moving along the purchase. Now your product could be selling it to, as I said, it's B2C or B2B. So you might be selling it for the business. So you will have different people doing all these process, or you might selling it to C person, to consumer, who one person does all these process accordingly. So in general, is you start with fixed price, for example, and you make an order online, and you buy things and get shipped, and shipped gets move on. But all this all these, it will have a transparencies. So if I'm buying for my company, I want to know that I'm buying the best product at the lowest price possible at the best deliveries. And if I don't see that, then I would have a problem of selecting a product. So Tijari or Amazon has done something like that. So you to see that the buyer feels more secure to go to this site and purchase these things from them. Now, without going into the details, I just wanted to show you the cycle of the sales, whether it's happening to B2B or B2C. This is from then when you are doing your entrepreneur, you come up with your decision, you need to look and say, okay, most of my consumers are, it's coming from this country or this city. So I need to put my products near to them because they want to have a one-day delivery. Or most of my consumers are worldwide, everywhere. So I don't need to put anywhere a warehouse. I just want to keep my warehouse inside. Or most of the consumer that I see, they are buying certain product, and this product I can see in my back home, in my country, they producing a much better product at a lower price. So I'm going to speak with these guys saying, listen, I will find you a channels of sales. I will sell for you. In return, I'll cut my profit. I'll get my profit. So your technology, your ability to technology, the supplier will be available for you to sign up with you to say, okay, you do sales for me online, and whatever I sell, I'll give you your share in it. So in this case, you don't need to create so many tools. Sometimes you create your tools, like on the website, you create your site where it's people comes in and buy things from you. But how many people will come to your website in comparison with how many people entering Amazon, for example? So that's one of the things that you need to look at it. On the other hand, do you have the products available? Who is delivering? If you don't have a delivering company, a shipping company, Amazon can provide you, for example, Alibaba can provide you that. If you don't have a way of collecting your money, Amazon can provide you that. But if you have a way of collecting money, then you don't need to utilize Amazon in a way of collecting the money, but you can utilize the Amazon in delivering the products, for example. So this is where you as an entrepreneur, you want to decide what is your strength and how you connect, get the products ready for the end user to utilize it. If you think that your website that you're going to create that could sell much better than having your product on Amazon, then by all means have it on your website. But if you think that, okay, my website will need a cost for building the website, to maintain it, to support it, to make sure secure. These are all things that you need to consider them. So it is the strength that you need to look at it where you fit. So whether it's you delivering service or product, there is a cycle for it. And the cycle is the fact that internal happen through your e-commerce tool. It could be personal e-commerce, once again, or it could be external e-commerce tool. And this process is like called punch in, punch out. So when the delivery is happening, when the money is getting collected, and how this thing's happening. Now, the good part of it, most of these systems are built some way, somehow, that you can integrate your apps with their app and utilize them. The other options they're giving to you, they're giving you apps within the site. Like in Amazon, there is a site where you can develop your own apps and upload it there. And if you don't see any app that is fitting you very well. So these are the options that you can see the fact that they are useful for you or not. So these are really the tools that you need as an entrepreneur. If you are selling online, you need to break it down and say, okay, which part I'm weak at it and which part I'm strong at it. And where can I keep myself, as a more competitive? And that's where it makes you more advanced, ready to compete in the market. Now, you could have nothing there within the whole cycle, and all you have is you know how to use Shopify or Amazon, but you know somebody who doesn't know to use that, but he's producing, or even if he can he use it, but you can have a very similar thing going on in the same situation. So that's how you utilize the technology part of it. You just don't go in and try to use the whole technology. You break it down, you find out which part of it that you are strong at it, and which part that you are weak at it, and which one you're going to use it now, and which part you might stop using it in the future. So that's, as an entrepreneur, you might be building as a plan. Now, we're just going to move on with probably chapter 5, because this is where we're going to discuss more about it. And basically, chapter 5 is to identify and analyze the domestic and the international opportunities. So today, even we are in Canada, we are running to an international opportunity because there is so many cultures here, there is so many sectors here that everybody has a different need. So probably we're not exporting, but actually we are using a domestic, but we are targeting different community. But whether we are looking at the domestic market or looking at the international market, we have to identify and analyze which one can be more beneficial for us. So in this chapter, what will we see? We see the fact that in order to expand a venture, the entrepreneur should identify the opportunities for a domestic or international expansion. Now, you could say, okay, I do sell in Ontario, and I'm going to expand it to um, Quebec, for example. Or I sell in Ontario, and I'm going to expand it to USA. Now, most of the people thinks that, okay, there is lots of similarity between USA and Canada, so easy to expand to USA. And that's a big mistake. Sometimes selling to a different country is much easier because of the rules and regulations that you are facing with it. Now, the government tried to minimize these rules and regulation, but sometimes you have to do the studies about if you have to do an international expansion. So the distinction between the foreign and domestic market is becoming today is less, but you always need to look at the barriers to enter to that market, and the internationalizing these things is being felt in virtually everywhere. With this technology, you can be in China selling to Canada. There shouldn't be any problem through Alibaba or through Amazon or through Tijari.com. You can do these stuff. So there is no boundaries coming in there. But when you do a physical thing, you might facing these issues. Let me know if you have any question. The key to do a local or international is whether it's a profitable or not. The idea that has a large reachable market. You always look for bigger market, reachable market, and more profitable. Sometimes you decide to stay in a smaller market just because it's more profitable and more reachable. And sometimes you go to a bigger market and you're not making a profit there. An opportunity assessment plan. So before you do your business plan, you need to do an opportunity assessment plan. This is different than your business plan. And it usually comes shorter, saying, okay, I'm gonna export onion. You don't focus is on the opportunity, whether there is an opportunity or not. That's in the short plan. And the plan has no financial statement in it in a way. It's just saying, okay, I'm going to export and I'm going to look at the opportunity and see whether there is an opportunity for me to do that. And it is the basis of the decision to act on an opportunity or wait. So once you saw that there is a market for you, then you will see, okay, and then after that, you build your business plan. So there is a shorter plan and there is a larger plan, which is the larger plan will be considering everything from the financial statement, from the legal part, from the, what kind of a partnership you're going to do, or you're going to be an exporter, or you're going to do a venture inside the country. So there is a different type of going inside that country or exporting or doing your business. So an opportunity assessment plan has 4 sections. 2 are the major ones and 2 has a minor one. And the major ones, the first major selection include the following: a description of your product. You need to know what you are selling as a service or a product. And the second thing, the market need for that product or not. Do they need that such thing or services? Is there a space for me to add one more competitive product there with the others? So there is a specific aspect of the product or services. the product currently filling the need, features, and prices. Can I come in and have a lower price? Can I come in and have a better feature product? Or I can have a better feature and lower price. You need to look at that and look at the competitive companies who is looking at your market. And you need to look at the unique selling proposition. How are you going to sell your product? What makes it unique compared to others? So these are the first major section that you need to include in your short plan. And the second major section is the market need filled, the social condition underlying the market need. Is it acceptable in the culture wise? For example, you cannot sell alcohol in Middle East, so you cannot export alcohol, for example, or pork, or you cannot sell beef from Canada to some part of say Nepal, because they don't consume beef. It's illegal to consume it. So these are the things that the social condition underlying the market need. Could be religious, could be cultural, it could be financial, be the need of self. Any available data to describe this market need. So it's important that if you have that feeling that you can export that, or you can, look at it to of a market, there is a data that you can look at it that can support you for that. The trend, the size, the characteristic of the market itself, and the growth of the market, because you're going to have a competition. Is there a growth in it where you can take one or two more competitive in a market and you don't feel a hurt in that side? The other two things that are small, and probably we will be stopping at this part of it, is the following question. You need to ask yourself a question. Why does this opportunity excite me? Why I'm so excited about this opportunity, for example, why I'm not about that? And how does the product idea fit into my experience? So if I don't have that experience, I would not get into it because it's going to fail. What business skill do I have, and what business skills I need to get, or I need to outsource? So if you know that what kind of business skills that you need to outsource, then you know how to partner with others, or you need to hire these people. Do you need, do you know someone who has these skills? So you might bring a partner, or you might bring a co-worker or some employee to pay them, or a friend to help you in this matter. And the final section that you need to focus on, you need to identify each step. So if you're saying I'm going online and I'm selling it utilizing Amazon, I need to identify how I'm going to sell on Amazon, what part of Amazon I'm going to use, what part of my things that I will be using. And we need to determine the sequences of it, the activities. So you do the breakdown and the activities. But in this case, most of the time, basically, Amazon is usually do that for you, break down this determine, and basically determine the time, the money needed for each step. And you need to determine the total time, and because you don't want to have a short in money also, in time. Because if you are taking a loan from a bank, the first thing they want to see your financial statement, your business project, your how much you're going to make income, what do you have as a collateral to give you that loan, for example. There is other organization who can support you without going through that. And maybe in the next slides, we'll be talking about different type of organization where a government organization that they can support you in a different way, financially, technically, physically, all these things that they can support you. And identify the source where you're going to get this money. Are you getting it from bank, from friend, from parents, or from nonprofit organization or the government? These are all things that you need to identify because before you start writing your detailed business plan, and you take it from that type of it. Now, we will stop at this. On the next class, what we will do, we will talk about different nonprofit organizations. There is lots of them in the state. There is similar of them in Canada, some of them, where you can tap in. You might be utilizing their information, or they have some tools that you can utilize for free, or some support, or their funds also. We'll stop here, and next class we'll continue from this side. Let me know if you have any question. Okay, just the final announcement. What we will do, basically,